on this episode of The Breakthrough Show. Today, we're welcoming back to the show our favorite plant-based wellness expert, Shoshana Chaim. This time, she's back with a brand new title, international best-selling author. She's here to share with the children of the world and all those who care for them about the power of taking a simple, deep breath through her new children's book, I Am a Peaceful Goldfish. Then, we've got a new friend of the show from across the pond, author Wendy Beasley is here. You'll just love Wendy's powerful story about becoming the author she always wanted to be later in life. She's moved from the nonfiction genre to children's fiction, and now she's finally released her first adult fiction book and has had many lessons along the way. Stay tuned, all this and more coming up on today's episode.
Life gives us moments when we have the opportunity to make a choice, and what we choose has the potential to change our lives forever. Join us now for another inspired episode of The Breakthrough. And now, please welcome the creator and host of the show, Jessica Dugas.
Welcome back, everybody. This is The Breakthrough Show. It's the daytime talk show helping you change the way you look at and live your life through, of course, inspirational stories and incredible entertainment. And today, I'm really excited to welcome back a past guest who's going to be talking about something amazing that she has going on, but also welcoming new to the show, my good friend, Wendy Beasley from across the pond, as we say, over in Europe. And she has been an author several times, and she just recently released her first fiction book for adults. So I'm really excited to dig in today with Wendy Beasley. But first on the show today, I'm really excited, as I said, to have back an incredible guest. For those of you that are new here, my name is Jessica Dugas. I am the creator, producer, and host of this show, and I'm thrilled to have my good friend, Shoshana Chaim, back on the show, who is one half of the Plant Trainers podcast. She is a plant-based wellness consultant, advocate, all of the things, and now she is an author, and I'm really excited to have her back on the show to talk about that incredible book that she's just released. Please welcome back Shoshana Chaim.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for that intro and so much for having me here today. I'm very grateful.
Absolutely. Well, we had you on before to talk about the fact that you were working on this book and it was going to come back out soon. So it is called I Am a Peaceful Goldfish, right?
I am a peaceful goldfish. Yes, it is super exciting and it's super cute. And I'm really honored and grateful that I get to bring this into so many homes.
I think there hasn't been a better time to want to be a peaceful goldfish.
I sometimes wish I was a peaceful goldfish encased in my little bowl and people would come and feed me and all I had to do was swim. It's been a hard time. And a lot of people have said to me, wow, what a great idea to come up with this, during COVID and when people need it most. But I mean, the truth is that I've been birthing this for 6 years already. Mm-hmm. This has been a process, or it will almost be 6 years. And this has been a process, and it's just serendipitous how this is the timing of when it's coming to us.
Right. I mean, that's one of the things that I've loved about recording the show ahead of time too, is that we go back and when I go to edit, and then it comes out at a time when I think, wow, I couldn't have planned that any better than when that happened. So I love when that happens. And as you were here last time, and we talked a little bit about this process of writing the book for you, and there's people that'll look in and say, okay, you do this stuff with, cellular regeneration and redox and plant-based, and what in the world does a peaceful goldfish have to do with this? But I know that you take everything from a very holistic perspective. So tell us a little bit about what this book means to you.
Sure. So a couple of things that you mentioned there. Number one, I think it's important to recognize that where everybody is today, their journey from sometimes even before birth to where they are has brought them to where they are today. So in my former present life, I was a school teacher. I was a kindergarten and phys ed teacher for 15 years. Towards the end of that, I also became a yoga teacher for children as well. So not adults, but children. And having young children, a son who was having a hard day, a mom who was having a hard day, and a kindergarten teacher who's used to going to books to be like, okay, what can I read to my kids because we're going on a trip? What can I read to my kids because it's the first day of school? What can I read to my kids because it's snowing outside? It was, what can I read to my kids? I keep telling them to take these deep breaths and to calm down and to do what I do, but it's not relating. It's not it's not working for them. So I need a book, and there was no book for me to grab. So, I guess it was kind of in the back of my head in university, taking a children's lit course. We had to write the first page of a book. And I'm like, maybe I'll do this one day. It was an exciting bucket list. But as I started to come out of teaching and think, what are my next steps? I know I want to help people, but how? That book just kind of came because we needed it in that moment. And like I said, it's been a 6-year process of, okay, am I going to self-publish? Am I going to get it traditionally published? And if I do, how do I do that in both instances? And what are the steps I need to take? And those steps just happened to take 6 years. And I evolved a lot in those 6 years. And there was a time where I was really known as the plant-based lady. Anybody had a question plant-based, that was me. Anybody was having me on their podcast or speaking at their event, it was about how to get their kids to eat better, how to transition that whole family. But really, I've been on a journey in that time as well. And now what I really feel like what I really live for is really guiding families on their holistic journey, meeting them where they are so that they can achieve their wellness goals with confidence. And so that they can get there. So for some people, that means having a book for their children to, teach them how to do the things that we're learning how to do as adults so that they can get through those hard times better.
I think it gives people the opportunity too to look a little bit into your journey that you've had up until this point as well, because a lot of people, like you said, know you as the plant-based lady, know you in the redox world and all of that, and they don't necessarily know that you were a teacher, that you've taught yoga, that you've worked with kids. And so it's a cool opportunity for people, I think, to see this other side of you that maybe they haven't had the opportunity to see before. I have a question though that it's been bugging me, and I need to ask this. Why a goldfish?
Why goldfish? Well, what you'll learn is that there's a lot that goes into choosing titles. There's a lot that goes into choosing vocabulary. And when you're working with a publisher, they know a lot more than you do as an author. They're thinking about librarians, they're thinking about marketing, they're thinking about 100 million things at once. And it was just, how you started off saying, I'd kind of like to be a peaceful goldfish just floating around in the goldfish bowl. It was something that can create an image for people. And I think it's something that everybody's had experience of, just being mesmerized, unfortunately, with a fish in a bowl. From a vegan standpoint, I don't know how I 100% feel about that. But, the truth is that it is so calming just to watch that fish, and it looks so calming. And that's just kind of what took and what we thought would be really cute. And I am really glad that we did.
Yeah, I love that too, because for me, growing up on the water, I know that, and being such a water lover myself, when I go under the water, there's no sound. There's no and it's the most peaceful place you could ever be. And so it really resonated with me that, it tied it together. Some people might think peaceful goldfish, how does that, but it does. So if you think about that, anytime you've ever gone under the water, there's nothing. It's just you.
There's nothing. And I'm an advanced scuba diver as well. So I have experienced all different kind of wildlife underwater, which has been super amazing. And you just kind of float there.
Yeah.
The other thing is that this book is about imagery. It's about imagination, and it's about finding relatable items or relatable animals in a child's life that they can act like, that gives you that sense. So, we have this image of the fish blowing bubbles in the bowl. And that's essentially what the book is doing. The book is teaching children how to take a deep, slow breath in, and then letting out the air to blow bubbles like a goldfish, to breathe fire like a dragon, to let the pinwheel spin. that's the imagery from the book to teach children how to take that breath. So when you get through the book, it all does come together. But I know when you first saw it on my screen, you saw it, I shared a screen and you're like, what's a peaceful goldfish?
Yeah.
And, so I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it might take some people a minute, but it really is there, that you hear goldfish, and as soon as you hear goldfish, you think water, and water has always been a peaceful place for me. So basically what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter if anybody else gets it. I get you. I get it.
You get me. Good.
I get
If
it.
anybody wants to take it up with me, that's fine.
That's right. That's right. I would love for you to share with us. So the book is obviously about breathing and, taking in that imagery and that safe space, almost, it feels like, if you will, of the peaceful goldfish. But outside of reading the book, what do you think is a good way for us to use this book as a teaching tool for our children?
So I definitely do think it starts with reading the book. I think that it can then go into acting out the book. So how do you act like the peaceful goldfish? How do you act like the dragon? How do you act like the pinwheel? And getting children in a state where they are happy, where they feel comfortable, where they're safe, to be those animals or be those objects, take deep breaths in and out. And then when you're in the grocery store and they want the candy and you're saying no, or they want to go back to the car and you're saying no, and or you're not even saying no, they're just being a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old and having that moment, you could say, let's take a deep breath like that peaceful goldfish. Let's take a deep breath like that dragon. And they will have had the practice already. And when you say it, it's a cue to them to bring their nervous system back down. They've already had that practice. So taking that deep breath in and out and being able to associate it with their favorite page from the book is going to help in that moment as well. Whether it's the grocery store, grandma's house, or dinner time, or I don't want those socks, but the other socks are in the laundry, whatever it is, when they've had more practice doing it, being happy, they will be able to execute it more in those more unhappy times.
Yeah, I think that's such a wonderful tip for any parents, caregivers, teachers, babysitters, anybody out there that is interacting with children on a regular basis, to have that little saying even, or imagery that you can use to because it makes them just switch gears in a second. Like, I remember when I was teaching choir and I would say crisscross applesauce, they knew that meant sit on the floor, cross your legs, pay attention, just those little things we don't think could be a big deal, but it really can change and diffuse a situation very quickly, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And one thing that I learned as a kindergarten teacher is when we can have that continuity between the classroom and the home, that's even better for the child. So if we're saying crisscross applesauce at school, but the parents are saying sit up straight and cross your legs,
right?
Disconnect there. So if you're using this book in the classroom, share it with the parents, have the parents use it at home as well, and vice versa. If you're using it at home with your child, recommend it to the school, get it in the school library, in every kindergarten, grade 1, nursery class, because that continuity is just going to help everybody have a more peaceful day.
Absolutely. Parents and teachers, we need to be peaceful goldfish too. We do. I would love for you to read a little part of the book if you would be willing.
I would love to. I am a peaceful goldfish. And before I get into reading it, one of the parts I love is that we really wanted every child to see themselves, or I actually really wanted every child to see themselves in the photo. But of course, there's only 2 kids. So we really did something nice with the inside cover. So I'd love for
beautiful
people to check that out. Sometimes things go wrong and I can't calm down. Me neither. I have an idea. The pages are fresh. I imagine I'm a peaceful goldfish. I take a slow, big breath in. Then I let out all my air to make bubbles in my bowl. I have an idea too. I'm a mighty elephant. I take a slow, big breath in. Then I let out all my air to make a soft trumpeting sound. And they just go through the book and they find things in their environment inside the home and outside in the yard to really inspire their playful, imaginative moments that bring them from those hard times back to being ready to integrate properly back into their environment again.
Yeah, I love that. I love the inclusiveness of the book, where not just in the imagery, but in the words as well. If a child reads it and they don't, they can't picture themselves as a goldfish, they can go to the elephant part. If they can picture that better. And so I love that it's an opportunity to reach every child where they are, and like you said, also give that tool between what an opportunity educators have to send the same message, to encourage people at home to be reading the same book and to be on the same page when it comes to getting our children to that peaceful place.
Absolutely. You see it exactly as it is.
I love that. Well, tell everybody where they can find the book, Shoshana.
The truth is that they can find it absolutely everywhere. As of April 13th, it's available in all physical bookstores. If it's not in your local bookstores, by all means, please ask for it. But if you want to shop in person or online at Indigo, Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, you can find it anywhere. And if it's before April 13th, pre-orders are really helpful because they let us know if we need to order more books on time so other people don't run out. And if it's after, it should be available just about everywhere.
I love that. I love it. Everybody make sure you get your copy of I Am a Peaceful Goldfish. I'm just going to put it out there that I think that everyone needs this, whether you have children or not. We are all in a place where we need to be a peaceful goldfish.
Definitely. I had somebody reach out to me the other day saying, I told my teenage girls about it and they want me to order two, one for each of them. So I was quite surprised and impressed, but my backdoor goal was really that parents need this just as much as the kids. And when they start to breathe with the kids, they'll then take it to their level later on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Shoshana, thank you so much, as always, for being back here. You've been a longtime friend of the show, and we'll be glad to have you back anytime, whether you want to talk about being a peaceful goldfish or a peaceful elephant or anything that you want to talk about. It'll be great. Thanks so much for being back with us today.
Peace, everyone.
All right, guys, we're going to be back in just a minute with author Wendy Beasley.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences, raw conversations, one destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back to the Breakthrough Show. You know, it's really interesting as I've gotten older that writing has become something that I've enjoyed. And I was never a very good writer in school. You know, when growing up in school, they would tell you to read something and then write a summary about it. And I could never write a summary because I wanted to write all of the things. I wanted to really literally rewrite the whole story. So I used to get in trouble for not being a very good writer growing up. And so that naturally, as I got older, I kind of was like, I'm not going to write because I'm a terrible writer. But I've enjoyed it as I've allowed myself to explore and understand that I'm not going to get in trouble anymore. So it's been a fun thing for me. And so I'm really excited to have a writer on the show today. So she was in the nonfiction world. And after she retired, she got into to explore her dream in the fiction world, and which is really exciting. It's kind of a second act, if you will. And so I'm really excited to welcome on the show today author Wendy Beasley. Wendy, welcome.
Thank you. And thank you very much for inviting me.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to have you here today. And I would love for you to start by sharing with our audience something that's bringing you joy in your life right now.
Well, although the recent book released was my second book, it was, for want of a better word, a proper book. The first book was a children's book, and I was very pleased and proud. But when the adult book arrived, my author copies came and it was a proper book. It was a proper grown-up book. I could have absolutely burst. I was so proud. I'm still on cloud nine. It's a week ago now, and I still keep picking it up and looking at it and thinking it's a proper book. So yes, it brought me immense joy and a great deal of pride. And I will come down at some point, but I'm still up there in the clouds at the moment.
That's okay. That's the best kind of joy, when you can experience something that gives you joy for a long period of time, right?
Yes.
I love it. I love it. So I know that, as I mentioned in the beginning, that you have been a writer for a long time. But so tell us a little bit about your history of how you got into writing. Did you always know growing up that you wanted to be a writer, or tell us how you got into it and what kind of work you were doing?
Yeah, well, I always loved writing. At school, I loved writing, but I was a terrible school pupil. I didn't go to school half the time. I was really bad. And I left school at 15, so I never pursued it. But I've always loved putting things down on paper. And as I grew up, I did the necessary and got a job in various offices and worked in various academic type offices, and really kept my writing for myself. I did go to a creative writing course when I was in my early 20s, and it was if you like, an escapism from the children, really. I went in the evenings and left them with a babysitter and went and indulged myself. So I did a short course and thoroughly enjoyed it, and then took it no further. But I got into dogs. I breed dogs. I work dogs, I compete with dogs, and it's been a lifelong hobby. And around about 20 or 30 years ago, I started writing about my hobby. And I wrote a couple of books, both one about obedience and one about working trials, both about competing with dogs. And this sort of got me going back into writing. And I was approached by Dog World, a national magazine, to see if I'd like to do a piece for them. And following on from that, I wrote for Dog World, I wrote for the Kennel Gazette, and I did a regular column in Dog World until 2 or 3 years ago. So I was fulfilled in my writing. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I sort of thought that was it. And then Dog World, I'm afraid, went to the wall, and I had nothing to write. And so I just played. I sat down and I'd written a story for my grandchild, who's now 23, but when she was quite little, and I played about with it and sent it off to a publisher, and they accepted it. I nearly fell over because it doesn't happen like that.
Right.
They did accept it, and they have published it. And thrilled as I am with it, I've had for many years been drumming around away at a novel that was in my head and kept doing bits here and bits there. And I thought, well, that got published, I'll try the adult one, and went back to the same publishers. And so Beasts and Butterflies was born, which has just come out. And now I can't stop. I can't tell you the freedom of writing fiction after years of having to be totally accurate and get my facts right and all the rest for actual non-fiction reporting. It's just, I can do what I like. I can make the story as I go along, and it's fabulous. I'm really enjoying it.
I love that. And we can feel that excitement from you. As soon as you started talking about, when you said you can't stop, I started thinking of the Queen song, Don't Stop Me Now. And he says, we're having such a good time. Like, we can feel that you're having a good time, Wendy.
And I'm of an age now where time is very important. So I just, I've got to use it to the best of my ability.
Yeah. Yeah. What kind of dogs did you compete with?
Well, I've got border collies. I've still got them, border collie sheepdog type dogs. But I've had them and bred them for 30 odd years. I have a line of unbroken line of border collies, and they're what I compete with, and they're what other people come to buy so they can compete. So they've been quite successful.
We love to watch. I don't know what they show over where you are, but on Thanksgiving, after the parade is over here in the United States, they show the dog show here every single year on TV, and we watch it every year. The kids love to see all the different types of breeds. Is that something, that work really something that brings you a lot of joy as well?
Oh, to me, very much like police dog work. So it's very challenging. There's nose work, tracking. There's even at the highest level man work. So there's a lot of aspects to it, but it's very challenging and extremely rewarding. The qualifications are hard to come by, but very worthwhile.
I think one of my old music teachers at school, I think she raises some type of terrier now. It's one of the ones that has the longer snout and a little beard at the end. I can't ever remember which one it is. But I know she gets a lot of joy out of that as well. But so what is different for you about writing the nonfiction as opposed to the fiction?
Well, the non-fiction is always open to criticism in that people say, no, that didn't happen. You haven't got that right. It isn't, and you've got to be so rigid in everything you write. You have to check and double check. You can't report anything that, could be debated. So therefore, it's quite a rigorous thing to do non-fiction. You do have to make sure that what you're writing is in fact correct. Now, when you write fiction, yes, it has to be right, but it's your interpretation of what's happening. It's no one else's idea. So you can actually, it's a sort of a freedom, a feeling of, I know what I'll do next, and I know what will happen. And it gives you that sense of freedom that you never have in nonfiction.
Right. And I can totally see that. I've been working on a collection of short stories about growing up with my grandparents. And I think the reason it's taken me so long to write it is because it's my account of them and what happened. And I've been so afraid that someone's going to say to me that that's not how it was, or that's not how they were. And so I'm nervous about it.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's very true. I write fiction in a different way to most people, in that I have an idea and I run with it, but I don't really know what's going to happen. It happens as it develops. So I don't have a start and a middle and an end. I have an idea and a person and a character and a set of circumstances. And then I think about what would happen. So it's as exciting to me, I hope, as it is to the reader, because suddenly I think, I know this could happen or that could happen. And it's really exciting. And I develop that. So I'm writing a book at the moment and I'm so enjoying it. And I have a vague idea how it's going to end, but I certainly haven't got it written in concrete. And I've changed it several times and thought, no, I'm going to do it this way or that way. And it's really as exciting as reading a story.
That's really interesting because so many people that I know that are writers, they have like this whole concept and the storyline written down, and then they go and write it all out. And I love kind of, it seems like it's exciting to just start with an idea and then just say, hey, it's almost like the characters have a mind of their own.
Absolutely. And I am sure that the people you know that do it that way is the way that it should be done. And it's probably how people will tell you to do it. But for me, it's exactly as you say. I get a character, and then what happens with that character is almost dictated by who the character is. So I really enjoy that aspect of it. It's exciting. It's what will happen next, and then I decide what will happen next.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's nice to have that control.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I wonder at times when we feel maybe out of control in our own lives, that maybe that's why some people write, because they have more control over, maybe they feel like they have more control on the paper than they do, off the paper.
I'm sure that's right. I'm sure it's empowering. It actually is empowering. It actually makes me feel that I'm doing something that nobody else is doing. It's mine. And what happens is mine. It makes me very strong, very powerful when I'm writing. So it's good for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you read as much? Were you an avid reader? Do you enjoy reading fiction as much as you do writing it?
I do. I've sort of worked a routine now that I write for most of the day. I start about 9 and I pack up round about 5 in the evening.
Wow.
And I close the computer down and I go downstairs, and in the evenings I read a book. And I take a book. If I'm out with my husband in the car, I read a book. So I've always got a book on the go. And I'm not necessarily reading anything like I write. I'm usually into witch books, actually. I love T.J. Green and the Whitehaven Witches and all of those. And it's a lead on from Harry Potter. I like fantasy, but I don't write it for adults, but I do enjoy it.
Yeah, I remember reading when I first sat down to read the Harry Potter series, and it came to me in a time in my life. I was a teenager, and it came to me I was going through a lot. I think, coming into hormones and all of the things that teenagers do, and figuring out who I was. And so it really was such an escape for me to go into this magical world. And that was the first time I think I remember, because I never really cared so much for reading growing up because I struggled with it. When you're in school and you have to read certain things and you're like, I don't want
Yes, that puts you off for life.
Yeah. And so I really, that was the first time I sat down and I was like, this is good. And I could go there. And so do you think that people can learn just as much from fiction as they can from nonfiction?
I believe so. I think the quality of books that the schools and the academics try and make you read do more harm than good. I think as long as the story inspires you and makes you want to read, you will learn. You'll learn so much. And I didn't read Harry Potter until very late on. I'm 71, for goodness sake, so I didn't read it until I was a grandmother. And my son told me to read it, and I thought, don't be ridiculous. I'm not going to read a child's book. But I did. Yeah. And I couldn't stop. Yeah. And I was absolutely over the moon by the books. I just thought they were fabulous. And then since then, it sort of inspired me to read more, because when I was working, probably didn't have a lot of time to read, but it got me back into it. And now I read all the time. So
that's awesome. Do you have any favorite books or favorite genres that you like to read?
Well, it is really, if you like, witches, witchcraft, fantasy, that type of book. I'm not into science fiction. I don't like modern books. I don't want to read about what's going on in the world now. For me, that's I'm living that.
A little redundant.
So, but I do tend to. I used to be very, very keen when I was younger on historical novels, not history as such, but historical novels. but I've sort of graduated onto now more fantasy, really. Perhaps it's an escapism for me. It's completely different from anything else. So yes, I read that more than anything.
Yeah. I love that you read things that are different than what you write, because I
Yeah.
think some people have this idea that, you know, everybody's kind of boxed into one genre, that this is the life that they live. And so it's interesting that you have different ones that you read. When you came out with your first one that you wrote for your granddaughter, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, my granddaughter moved with her parents to a new house, and she was 5. And it was a really big thing for her. She was an only child, and she did struggle to settle. She didn't, it wasn't her house, and it wasn't her bedroom, and she didn't like it, and that's how she was. And my daughter said to me, I'm really worried about Charlotte. She really, is not happy. And I went round there and we talked about fairies. And I said there was a fairy that looked after her, and although she couldn't see it, there was always a fairy there for her, and told her these stories. And then the story grew, and from there Charlotte and the Fairies was born, and the story I sort of roughly told her grew into the book it is now. She's thrilled to bits. She's 23 and at university and just thinks it's amazing to have a book written about her. But it's, that's how it started. And it just did nothing for, as I say, she was 5 when I wrote it, and I did absolutely nothing. It was for Charlotte. And then I'd desperately been trying to get someone to take an interest in my adult writing. And out of desperation, one day when I was getting nowhere, I sent that off to a publisher. The Charlotte one, I thought, well, have a look at this then. And they accepted it. And I thought, well, this is ridiculous. I had to find an illustrator, which I was very lucky and did find, and had to sort of, but I suppose I don't know, it didn't seem real. A children's book, I was thrilled to bits with it, but I didn't feel it was proper writing.
Yeah.
It's silly because I'm sure it is, and as my husband says, I'm sure Beatrix Potter wouldn't tell you that it wasn't
Yes.
proper writing. Or David Williams. But
Yes.
there you go. I felt as if it was sort of second class writing for some reason, and when I actually got my adult novel published and it came out looking like a real book, I suddenly felt like a writer. But funnily enough, I've written 2 more children's books since then that haven't yet been published but are waiting in the wings, and I'm absolutely thrilled with them, and I know I shall go on doing it because it was such fun and I love them. And so yes, it is proper writing, but
yeah. We have to build ourselves up a little bit sometimes.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
I tell everybody, even with the show, I tell them when they say, "Oh, can I watch old episodes?" I said, "Please don't go watch season 1. Please don't do it. Don't do it." Because I tried real hard. That's all I can tell you. Because so I get that, but I love this story because we so often we'll hear about people who have a dream to do something and a door will open and they think, well, that's not exactly what I wanted to do. So they don't go through the door. And then so I think sometimes when we do something that maybe isn't as comfortable, it's not exactly what we envisioned, but it sets the table for other things to come our way.
Yeah. I think the funny thing about having done Charlotte and now the adult book is, for the first time ever, I have described myself as an author, which I never did before, but I feel now I'm justified in saying, yes, I'm an author.
Yes.
So that's given me that little buzz.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, so we did a Christmas special on the Breakthrough Show page, and I had one of my good friends, Kevin Kiley, who's been on the show, came on to sing, and I sang all growing up, and that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a singer, and I wanted to get into music therapy and doing all this stuff. And somewhere along the way, I got away from that, and it breaks my heart to think about it now because I wanted it so bad. Just thinking about the little me inside that wanted it so bad. And I still, even though, so Kevin made me sing a song the other night on this program, and it had been so long since I've like sang for other people, and I'm not trained anymore. It's not what it used to be, but I had this whole realization of having trouble calling myself a singer because I feel like I'm just not at that level anymore. And so I'm kind of feeling like that a little bit myself of, I don't know what, if I'm going to ever be able to call myself that.
And it's silly, isn't it? Because we can call ourselves whatever we like.
Right.
But we hesitate to. There are plenty of people out there calling themselves things which they really don't deserve. So I don't know why we hesitate.
That is true. That is very true. Well, I know so on the show, we've had a ton of authors over the last couple of years, and mostly nonfiction books or stories of their own personal life, memoirs. And I'm not sure. I think we've only had maybe one or two people that have written fiction books. So I was thrilled when you said you had fiction books so that we could pick your brain a little bit too. But tell us a little bit about the adult ones that have come out, and what's your inspiration behind those?
Well, the only one published so far, Beasts and Butterflies, the inspiration was really about trying to put a young woman in a situation that was difficult and her be strong enough to find her way through it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is quite hard-hitting, and it does start off, which some people won't like, with an underage rape resulting in pregnancy. So therefore, it's a very bad situation for a young girl to find herself in.
Right.
And we travel with her through that and into adult life and a degree of retribution. So I just think it told its own story. Once I had the circumstances that brought Rachel to this point,
Mm-hmm.
then her story developed from how she dealt with it, really. The latest book that I'm writing now, called Angel, is a result of my other granddaughter, really. I have another granddaughter, an 18-year-old called Ruby. And when I did the creative writing course, which I told you about in my 20s, we had to write lots of short pieces, just short pieces demonstrating a situation.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the short pieces I wrote demonstrating a situation was a woman on the verge of suicide, mm-hmm. who was saved, basically. And this short piece, I gave my granddaughter to read because she was asking things what I wrote. And she said, "You've got to make this into a book. I need to know what happens to her. I need to know." And the woman in this, who's called Lydia, she said, "I need to know what happens in Lydia's life. I need to know whether she made the right decision, why." And so on her recommendation, I've just run with it. And I'm 20 chapters in now and I'm loving it. So I hope she finds it worth it when it's finished.
That's amazing. I get very invested in characters too. I have to know what happens. And even I was telling someone the other day, when I was growing up, all of the talk shows were big then. So we had Oprah, but then we had Jenny Jones and Ricky Lake and Sally Jesse Raphael and all of these talk shows. And I apparently have the best memory. And I think about all of the people that were on the show, and I find myself Googling them all the time because I have to know what happened. And I'm the same when I read a book, and I get very upset when the book is over and I go, but
oh yes,
I need to know.
Yes, I read quite a lot of trilogies or series of books. But even if I'm sort of halfway through and thinking, I'm not sure if I really engage with this, I have to continue because I need to know. Even though I think, I don't really know if I go with this or if it's really my cup of tea, but I've found out so much now, I've got to know. Yes. So I do continue to the end of the series.
I'm glad to know that I'm not alone in that, because I get very wrapped up. And I think it's a beautiful, I was talking to someone on another interview, and he makes movies, and he said that because I asked the movie people in the film industry the same question about, do you think that there's things that we can learn from movies that are fiction based? And he's like, listen, even if there was no lesson, the self-care aspect of
Yes,
allowing yourself to just escape is so good. Do you feel like that as well?
I do indeed. I think if you're going to write with your heart a fiction story, you have to believe in your characters. You have to make them real. And if you make them real, then you care about them. And caring about them and wanting to know how they feel and how they work out their problems it's very good for the person who's doing the writing, I think, because it's coming from you. And although you might put it on to the character, there's a certain amount of you in
Yes.
it. You can't help it.
Yeah. That's very true. I think that's if I was to write a fiction, maybe that's why I haven't tried to write a fiction one, because I'm afraid of myself on the paper. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll try. Maybe that'll be a goal in the next couple of years. I'll try to write something. I don't know. I
It's
love.
interesting that my first book with Rachel was based in Chelmsford and Norfolk, both places I've lived.
Mhm.
And Lydia, who is in my book I'm writing now, all her action takes place in Brighton, which is where I was born. So
Oh,
there is a little bit of me in there.
yes. That's good. And that's such a cool thing. Yeah, I think sometimes, like I said, there's a lot of people that write memoirs and nonfiction things that are tell about parts of their lives. And that's very straightforward. But, you may think, well, if I read somebody's fiction book, I don't really know about them. But I like that you said that it's little bits of you in there and you can
Oh,
find little
yes,
pieces.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So you're writing Angels right now,
Yeah.
and do you have a goal for getting that out, or are you just rolling with it to see where it goes?
I'm just rolling with it. I'm not in a hurry to finish it.
Mm,
I want it to be as good as it possibly can be. So at the moment, I'm 3/4 of the way through it, and I'm revising again from the beginning, which I do quite a lot. I stop when I get a little bit of a blank period. I stop, go back to the beginning, and read what I've written. And I'm at that stage at the moment, changing little things, tweaking things as I go along, and thinking, I'm so excited about where this is going. I almost don't want to finish it.
yeah,
I'm so enjoying it.
yeah. It'll be a never-ending story.
But I would like to find a publisher to go with. I mean, no disrespect to my present publishers, but I need a literary agent. I need a publisher. I need somebody who invests in me.
Mm,
I'm very much in at the moment with my 2 books, doing my own marketing, pushing myself. I'm
right.
not getting a great deal of backing, and I'd love to get a literary agent who really wants to promote me. And I can assure them there'll be a lot more
Yeah.
a lot more written, because I don't seem able to stop.
Well, I know we have some independent publishers that have been a part of the show, and I know we have a lot of people, like I said, that have been authors. So I know that if someone is out there and loves you and loves the sound of your stories, that they will find your information in the show notes and they will reach out. I know it.
That
Um,
would be lovely.
that would be awesome. So if there's any aspiring writers who are watching the show today, Wendy, and are like, I don't know how to get started, or I don't know how to, I'm afraid to put my book out there, whatever it is that they're struggling with. Do you have any advice for people that want to be writers?
I think the biggest thing I can say from my own experience is, don't write with a view to publication. Write because you want to write. Write because you're enjoying your own story and you really want to put it down on paper and you want to make it happen. The time to think about other people and publishers and everything is when your book is done, when your
Mm,
story is done. And then if you've done the best you can, then there'll be publishers that will see how good it is. But to start writing with a view to how long should my book be, what should it be about, what do the publishers want, that's the wrong angle. The angle is, what do I want to write? Why do I want to write? Regardless of if anybody ever reads it, do you want to write just because you love writing? And if so, sit down and write.
I love that. I love that so much. Wendy, you are such a joy. I just could sit and talk to you and I'm going to get your book now because I feel like it'll be us having a conversation as I turn the pages.
That's lovely. I hope you do.
I will do that for sure. Wendy, what's the best place for people to find you and get your book as well?
Well, my book is on Amazon. I believe it's on Amazon in the whole of the world, not just UK. It's published by Pegasus Publishers and can be bought from them. Both the children's Charlotte and the Fairies and my adult Beasts and Butterflies are both published by Pegasus, both on Amazon. And so they can find me and my books on there. They'll also see the books that are out of print now, but I had written before that, but they still insist on putting them up there. So they'll see those as well.
Very good. Wendy, thank you so much for sharing some of your story today. And some of it, like I said, you are an absolute joy. You have fantastic energy and I could sit and talk to you forever. And I just thank you so much for spending this time with me today.
Thank you, Jessica. It's been lovely to speak to you.
All right, guys, we'll be back in just a minute for more of The Breakthrough Show. Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every month for exclusive programming, where we invite you to go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Wow, what an incredible episode this has been with two amazing authors, an old friend, a new friend. I couldn't ask for a better episode. I hope you guys got so much from this. And I want to give a huge thank you to our very special guests today, Shoshana Chaim, and of course, Wendy Beasley. As always, make sure you guys check out the show notes where you can find more information about our guests. And don't forget to head to thebreakthroughshow.com, where you can find more information about the show, about our guests, where you can connect with them, purchase from them, all that good stuff. Don't forget, go to thebreakthroughshow.com for all that and more. Thank you guys so much for being here today, wherever you are in the world. It really means a lot that you've taken just a little fraction of your day to connect with us here, to inspire you, to motivate you to live your very best life. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I want to encourage you to make every day a great day for a breakthrough. We'll see you next week.
Tuning in to another episode of The Breakthrough. Please visit our website at www.thebreakthroughshow.com and be sure to join our After the Breakthrough community powered by Patreon. We look forward to seeing you next week.